What's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. I'm Harrison and you are here for Tutorial Tuesday. Today we are drawing one of the most fearsome evil entities in the entire galaxy, Darth Vader.
It is your destiny. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
So grab your pencils, pens, sketchbooks, and lightsabers, and let's force our way through this one. So right in the center of your page, let's go ahead and draw a circle. We're going to want to cut it into thirds, essentially cut that top third. This is going to be our eye line. The next thing we're going to want to do is add a little cut right there, and this is where the base of his helmet is going to essentially stop. We can go ahead and add another guideline just off the top of the head, and that will be the top part of his helmet, and then we can draw a triangle, kind of a pyramid shape, and that's it. There's our other video. Thanks for joining me. Bye guys. I'm just kidding. If only it were that simple. So from here, we can now start defining our shapes. This is the general structure of our Darth Vader. We know that his eyes are going to sit on this line, so we can add a guideline here for the bridge of where his mask sits, or like I don't even know what you call that. It's just like the top piece of the helmet. And then what we're going to do is we want to kind of plot out the swoopingness of where it comes from. So at the base of this, we're going to add just a little like notch, and then what we're going to do is go up, and we want these lines to connect, but we want to make sure we give it enough distance to get there. This might take us a few tries. And if you need reference, I highly recommend it. Sometimes doing something like this is very tricky. And just remember to stay nice and loose and light, because we're going to come back and erase a lot of these guidelines. And just think of it, we're making a big like M, like almost like the McDonald's logo. So you just gotta trust me here with this. It's gonna look funky for a bit, but we gotta just trust the process. Now from here we can add in the other side of this helmet. And this is just going to be like a curve in. And then right here where we made that guideline initially, we're gonna go just a little bit past it. And then we can curve it up to the top of this first guideline. And this is just, we're gonna exceed that line and just make a swoop. You kind of want this top to be a little bit boxy. You don't want it to be a fully rounded circle. And then I can see that this is slightly off. This line here is just higher, and then this needs to swoop out a little bit more. Perfect. So we can already start to see that Darth Vader is slowly coming together. Actually, I find that this is a little shallow. Might want to bring it up ever so slightly. And we might shrink that later on. It just depends. Right now it seems a little shallow, but if I tilt it, sometimes tilting your drawings and finding different angles really helps. We can come back and finesse a lot of this later on. I think right now we should just focus on getting all of our detail shapes in before we start really finessing everything. So at the base here, we want to keep it a nice flat line, but we can also add a triangle. And then if we want to add in our guideline to find our middle, make sure that triangle splits that middle, and then we can also add the reverse triangle to that as well. And this one, don't come to a complete point because we need to add Darth Vader's nose. So almost think of it like a pyramid with the tip cut off, and then add like a hump. And now to create the shaping of his face, we're going to think of it kind of like a box. So following this shape here, come down just a little bit, and then we're going to follow this line. So you're going to go out, and this should meet that. You can think of it like a jawline. Just like that. And then... And now we can do his eyes. So creating a very large C shape to right from the top of this internal curve to where we initially put our guideline. We're gonna make a C shape all the way down from that, and you can do that on both sides. Actually, this side looks a little thin. I want to erase that and widen the face. Make that C shape there. And then this will curve in just like so. And now that we've gotten here, I actually am okay with how high this is. I do think this is a good height. The next thing we can do is add in the detailing. There is like a little bump at the top. Commit to this line structure. We just want to make sure that this is rounded and not so boxy. And then we're gonna add in kind of like a vein or whatever you want to call this, a divide. It goes just, stop it right at the tops of the eyes, because then we're gonna draw in his brow line. Make this kind of come to a curve, and then we can add in a few ridges on his nose. He's only got 2 or 3. You can add as many as you want. However menacing you want to make your Darth Vader, you can. I'm going to add 3 little ridges, and then he has under eye markings. And we can give him, help accentuate the cheeks. And then now for the mouthpiece. We're gonna follow that guideline right in the middle, split that, and then you're going to add as many lines as can fit. I would say keep them even on both sides. I added 3 lines to each side, and then for the little part underneath, we're gonna draw just some diagonal lines, and this is we're going to go the opposite direction. And this will be the mesh underneath. And then to finish off the helmet, we're just above the triangle pieces. We can swoop in and do the same on this side. And you're almost following from the corners. Don't come right from the corners. And then we need circle, circle. And we can't leave our Darth Vader with as just a floating head. So what we can do is right here, we can add in a neckline. So you'll come down, you'll pull it right down, and at the base you'll swoop. We're gonna drop that, and then from here, we're gonna add in some shoulder lines, and then for his cape, we're gonna go down and swoop, and then we can follow that on the other side as well. And then following this guideline, this will be the chain that connects his cloak. And to keep it simple, you can just make it like a beaded chain. And then we can get in his chest piece, which is going to be like a big U shape here. And then it curves outwards. And then right in the center we have our separation. And these are just following the same stroke across the chest. And then this for the cloth piece underneath. And right here is going to be his little console. And here is our Darth Vader. This is everything you need to draw a completed Darth Vader. Inking Darth Vader is like one of the hardest things because he's completely black. There is no other color on Darth Vader than black. It is very tough to ink him, so if you are feeling daunted by the inking, I totally understand. But if you're going to follow along with the inking, you can follow me, and I will walk you through how I ink Darth Vader. By no means is it the right way. There are many ways to ink Darth Vader, but this is the way that I am going to do it and feel comfortable doing it. So what I'm going to do is take my eraser and lightly erase our entire drawing. I know it sounds insane, but we have so many sketchy lines. I don't really want to get lost with the new ones I'm about to put down for inking. And normally I would redraw a lot of these lines, but because this is such a specific inking, I don't want to. I don't want to lose anything here. So with the inking, what we're doing here is plotting where we are going to leave white space. So everything here is going to be black minus what we're drawing right now. The lines that I'm adding here will stay the color of the page. And if anything gets lost, you can always use whiteout, but I always recommend trying to plot out your white lines and everything ahead of time, because you don't want to just randomly try to go through with whiteout and guess. Now I'm slightly changing my approach to the inking. I am getting a little bit more carried away than I thought I would. I'm adding a lot more in here, inking detail-wise, than I initially was planning on, but sometimes that's what happens. You kind of get carried away with the process and it becomes super fun. Once you kind of get into a flow and you start looking at reference, you're like, oh, I want that kind of a shape, or I like this and I like that. And that's totally okay. It kind of makes your drawing a lot more unique and more special to you. So I would say if you're feeling like that, just absolutely go for it. So now that we have all of our lines plotted out, it looks like a jumbled mess. It looks undistinguishable from what we should ink and what we shouldn't ink. I know I kind of got lost in the process, and I said I would walk you through it. What I'm going to do now is fill in with my 6B pencil and fill in all of the areas that we are going to ink black. And I'll explain what I am doing here so that you can see and follow along. So starting from the top, this area is going to be black. I really wanted to create something that had high contrast. It wasn't so flat. The reason why I pivoted and changed my approach was because I felt like the areas that I was leaving white were going to be not enough and just too flat. And I wanted to make sure that Darth Vader here had a lot of form and he wasn't just a flat figure. This dome piece that he has on his helmet is very shiny, and it's super easy to have it get lost, especially all of the detail in it. When you're drawing, it's one thing to photograph it and kind of add light and things to an actual prop, but when you're drawing it and you want it to look right and have it have reflective surfaces, you want to make sure that you have enough white contrasting all of the black ink that you're about to put down. You can already see how much of a difference this is already making. And drawing a character like Darth Vader is very tricky because there is so much black and there's so much contrast you need to account for. It becomes very hard and frustrating at times. I would definitely suggest using different lead options if you have them available to you. You can really separate a lot of your areas by just pressing firmer with your pencil. That way you don't lose any of the lines you just put down. It's so easy to shade in some things and everything just gets lost and left behind. And a lot of times when inking a character like this or plotting out where you're going to ink for a character like this, it's up to you and how you want that drawing to look. You have the choice in where you want those inks to be. If you decide that you don't want your drawing to be filled with ink and you want it to be more on the lighter side of things, you totally are able to do that. I think that's what makes drawing so unique and so personal is that you can dictate how you want certain things to look. And you can justify it because you're like, oh, that's my style, that's what I think looks good, and no one can really take that away from you. So I'm getting a little sloppy with the shading in because this is primarily all going to be black ink down here. So I'm not really being too precise. And here it is. This is our pencil drawing of Darth Vader. Yes, it looks very messy, but we're about to ink it, so don't worry about that. But this is where you want it to be before you ink. We have all of our areas down where we need to put that black ink. We know what we want to leave white. We can also adjust as we go. Nothing has to stay to this. If there's something that happens when we're inking, we can adjust it on the fly. Now today I am going to be using my dip pen. I do feel that this drawing is warranted by a dip pen and not necessarily the micron. I would classify this as like a higher end drawing, not just a quick sketch. I feel like we've devoted so much time to this that why not put in some extra oomph? So using my dip pen, we're going to dive on in. I am starting left to right, top to bottom, especially because there's so much ink. I find that the tip on this sky lets me get in some detail that I might not be able to get with a micron. I really love inking like this. It, for me, gives me so much more control over the project and the ink, and I know how much ink is going down and I can control it. I can get some nice effects when I am laying down ink like this. It does take a while to understand how to ink like this because it takes a fine hand and a lot of practice. Using a lot of like actual ink instead of just using a micron can be challenging. It also, for me, just makes the whole experience that much more fun. Like, I feel like I am accomplishing a bigger project when I am painting in my inks versus scribbling them in with a Sharpie. I also just really enjoy this part of the process. And the last little thing I think I will do here is just add in some zip, some little pop. I think it's warranted. I've been thinking about it as I've been inking Darth Vader like this. I just think it needs a little bit something else. And I think what we're going to do is just add some ink splatter. So taking a loaded up brush, I am just going to, it's a little bit more than we're just going to splitter splatter all over our Darth Vader. And I will caution you, this does get everywhere, so make sure that your work area is protected, or you don't mind what's happening. I'm just using my fingers and just tapping on the brush, just kind of sporadically all over. The more ink you put on your brush, the more that it's going to spray. So it just depends on the look that you're going for. There is also no coming back from this. This is a permanent thing. I'm not going to sit there and try to white out all of this. It is also very hard to aim where this is going, and it's not really quite going in the areas that I want it to, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. Now, what we want to do before we get into the erasing is just let it dry. I'm going to let this sit here for about 20, maybe even 30 minutes so that it can soak into the paper. There are some larger bubbles here of ink that will take some time to set and dry, so we definitely want that to be completely dry before we go in and erase. And then there are a few places I would love to just kind of highlight with the whiteout, so we will go back and do that once it's all dry. All right, it has well been over 30 minutes. The sun is now down. I would say it's been like 6 hours. I did a few things in between this drying and now. So we should have no issue with erasing now that we are well over that 30-minute mark. So I'm gonna take my trusty kneaded eraser and then just go through and erase any pencils that I can spot. I'm essentially just gonna go over all of the areas that we put pencils down before, just to make sure I don't miss anything. At this point, nothing should come up or smudge. The longer you wait, the more successful your inking should be to stick to the paper. If something is coming up or smudging, I would then recommend changing your paper that you're using and the inking tools. I would start with your paper just because that means the ink is not reacting kindly to the page. Yeah, that would be weird. Alrighty, and that should be all of our pencils. Now I'm going to take my Presto Jumbo correction pen and give it a nice shake, and we're gonna go through and just kind of clean up some of these highlight areas. I'm not too concerned about like where the splatting is. I just really want like these areas really defined. And I over inked that. And I think we'll leave it at that before I get too overzealous. And then I do notice a few areas that didn't get quite filled in. All right, and there we have it. There is Darth Vader. I love this. I am so happy with the way this turned out. I'm so glad I pivoted and changed the way I was going to ink him in the last second there. I think this is so awesome, so dynamic. And if you followed along, I hope that yours is just as amazing as I feel about mine. If you enjoyed today's lesson, please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And once you do, hit that bell notification so you know when I upload the next. If for some reason you did not enjoy today's lesson, please let me know down in the comments below what I can do to help you better learn how to draw some of your favorite characters. And on that note, if there's a character that you would love to know how to draw but have yet to see, please let me know who that character is and I will add them to the playlist. If you've been following along with Tutorial Tuesday for the last 6 months, I would love to see all of the progress that you're making. You can tag me on Instagram or TikTok in all of your posts. I would love to check it out. You can also follow me there and see what I'm doing day to day, as well as the other tutorials and tips that I am posting regularly. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I sure did. It was super fun and super exciting. Keep practicing, keep drawing, never give up, and I'll see you right back here next Tuesday for another awesome tutorial. Bye, guys.
I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away!